Please remember, none of this is financial advice. Once in a while, you get shown the light in the strangest of places if you look at it right. Jerry Garcia. This is a PDF from the Cayman Islands Monetary Authority, or the Central Bank of the Cayman Islands. The Cayman Island Monetary Authority is giving directions for their banks in their jurisdiction, and it says when sending a payment or settlement, there is a drop-down box, and one of those options is Ripple for a payment. Ripple is one of the default settings. The Cayman Islands is one of the most richest nations in the Caribbean. In 2019, they had over $5 billion in GDP. The Cayman Islands also has a lot of international payments due to their tax safe haven policies, and their banks are Ripple enabled.
But suddenly we can get liberated of those cannonballs if we embrace technology in a broad sense. I mean, not solving everything, but technology really allows you to start on a clean slate, and reduce many of the problems that are out there. Like, for example, one aspect that we are working at the VIS is precisely how, for example, if we have a whole new CBDC design, which basically implies putting new rails and completely different rails to make payments, you can precisely, and Kristalina mentioned that, make them interconnected and interoperable across the world, so that you don't have to depend on the correspondent banking network. Now, you see how correspondent banking works is one issue after the other. I mean, there are so many steps that you have to go through, from AML CFT, from Forex, from messaging, and so on and so forth. Things are not integrated, and therefore, if they're not integrated, and to some extent they're artisanally brought together, they work, but these artisanally brought together, the costs are tremendous and the delays are huge. Now, what you can manage to do is to design everything integrally with integrity, so that you make a system that is consistent. So I think that's a huge opportunity we have, given what technology allows us today.
The financial system will evolve to autonomous and trustless systems. New settlement rails will be protocols on the web. The correspondent banking problem is the elephant in the room that everyone in the banking industry knows is an issue that can be solved today. This is the same issue that Ripple technology is solving. The first step of adoption with the traditional system will be regulated institutions using the technology and following all KYC, AML, Basel guidelines. We already see regulators touching on the issue of DeFi and crypto and some of those risks that they are concerned with. The DeFi platforms that we use today are not following those guidelines. For this to go mainstream, the DeFi platforms will need to follow the same rules the banks have. I think at one point we will reach there. However, the banks will reach the regulated operational platform first. Today there are 500 plus members on RippleNet. This is a banking financial institution network that is following all the regulations.
Even on an initial view, it is clear that the sector is opaque, complex, and undertakes financial activities that carry risks, activities that are regulated within the traditional finance sector. There are pronounced market integrity challenges given the absence of investor protection, AML, and other market integrity provisions. Moreover, even were such regulatory provisions in place, there may be no one for the regulators to engage with and to hold accountable. In practice, the degree of decentralization currently varies across platforms, but in an extreme form, a DeFi platform could be completely decentralized with no identifiable legal entity, ownership, or even a point of human contact. DeFi is still in its very early infancy, but its rapid growth means that regulators, domestically and internationally, need to think seriously now about the risks of a broad range of financial services being effected through DeFi platforms, and how to ensure that risks are managed in the DeFi world to the same standards that they are managed in traditional finance. At the Bank of England, we've begun some work to this effect. At the beginning of this talk, I set out my conclusion that while financial stability risks from the application of crypto technologies are currently limited, there are a number of very good reasons to think that, all else equal, this might not be the case for very much longer. All else is not, of course, equal. Although crypto finance operates in novel ways, well-designed standards and regulation could, and in my view should, enable risk to be managed in the crypto world as they are managed in the world of traditional finance. Indeed, bringing the crypto world effectively within the regulatory perimeter will help ensure that the potentially very large benefits of the application of this technology to finance can flourish in a sustainable and safe way. As the chairman of the SEC has observed, financial innovations throughout history do not flourish outside public policy frameworks. Developing the standards and the regulation that give effect to those public policy frameworks is and should be a painstaking and a careful process. But I cannot help observing that in the 2 years it has taken to develop the draft CPMI IOSCO guidance I referred to earlier, stablecoins have grown 16-fold, although admittedly only to a relatively small amount. Regulators internationally and in many jurisdictions have begun the work of putting the necessary frameworks in place, but it needs to be pursued as a matter of urgency. Technology and innovation have driven improvement in finance throughout history. Crypto technology offers great opportunity. As Emerson said, if you build a better mousetrap, the world will beat a path to your door. But it has to be a truly better mousetrap and not one that simply operates to lower standards or to no standards.
Crypto appreciating in value is a catalyst for the regulators to hurry up and scribble out regulations. It's a matter of urgency. As I said earlier, the crypto networks that are adopted first are the ones that follow the standards, like the 500 plus banks on RippleNet that are following the standards. The protocols used today will need to evolve to incorporate identity.
But to say that the U.S. is behind is probably an understatement. I think we're all aware adoption is occurring rapidly, more so now than ever. But if you look at some of the announcements just this past week, and as Dante can attest to, they're really focused on stablecoins right now, and I don't think they know what to do with them here yet, so to say. New administration, new plan, but walking it back a little. Coinbase made an interesting announcement and filed a report that they would like a separate regulator here in the U.S. to handle digital currencies. They feel it is such a different animal, and it is. And the effects of the global economy is we have to catch up here in the States to the adoption that has occurred overseas in Asia and Europe for the past 6 or 7 years. And the only way to do that is to really have an open forum and sharing of ideas. And being, with Signature Bank, we're headquartered in New York. We deal with the New York Department of Financial Services and the FDIC. There's also the governing body of the OCC, the SEC, the CFTC. They're all trying to figure out how to work, through this. So there are some tokens that they may deem a security. There are some that are not. Then they want stablecoin administrators to be regulated like a bank. So there's a lot involved in conversations ongoing right now. But what we see from the bank level is at least it's a conversation that's moving forward. Where I think 3 years ago, there was so much uncertainty, we weren't sure, if it was going to be fully adopted or even acknowledged in the banking system. And even from the payment side, we built Signet to really eliminate friction, because we understand a lot of our clients are overseas. We bank, we're global friendly. So we bank, not only do we have the agreement with Bermuda to provide banking services for your clients, we're trying to really open this up to jurisdictions that we're comfortable with, their neighboring jurisdictions, and help the global economy. The U.S. is always going to be looked at as the forefront for economic standards, but when you have crypto involved and the US dollar conversations behind it and stable coins behind that, it gets really interesting, I think, as you look at the next 3 to 4 years. I think 2022 will tell a lot once the mandates come down for stable coins. And then I think banks will take shape after that here in the US. But I do think it's positive. I think that we need regulation to stamp the footprint here. And then it'll really open up economic development around the world from there, especially on the banking side.
It has had a stifling effect here in the U.S. Hopefully when we get to the end of this, there'll be certainty and clarity, and frankly, it could be a very positive thing for the XRP ecosystem and community that it's the one crypto where there is clarity and it is certain.
Do you see a settlement of your case in the works?
Look, I would love to spend less time on this and be able to move forward. You know, the one thing that Ripple cares about more than anything, and really for the whole XRP ecosystem, is that there's clarity going forward that XRP is not a security. If that's not in the cards in a settlement, then there's nothing to settle.
Ripple has deep pockets. They literally hired the former SEC commissioner to take up their case. Now, crypto is surging, and there's this uncertain time where regulators are going after DeFi, stablecoins, etc., but Ripple's in the thick of it today, and Garlinghouse is telling you that they're not backing down unless they get a settlement. Ripple has Ben Lawsky, the guy that wrote the New York crypto regulations, Rosie Rios, the woman that signed the $100 bill, Don Donahue, one of the people that run DTCC. To me, this is a big song and dance. If you have ever had a legal problem, you know the drill. It goes back and forth forever, and the consequences are never that severe. All while this is happening, the rest of the world has the green light for XRP. What happens if another country goes live with ODL during this lawsuit?
I think it's global regulatory collaboration would be huge. That'd be a watershed event, followed closely by settlement, which we're working on.
And the global regulatory thing, because it would make it easy for assets to move across national borders. Is that your thinking?
Yeah, and the issuers are really keen to understand that before they really lean into it. So we're doing these narrow POCs, but that becomes an issue because you really want to open up the liquidity pool cross border. And you're going to need the regulators to collaborate on that.
So you're excited by the work that FATF and IOSCO are doing to achieve that?
Yeah, absolutely.
They really want to open the liquidity pools across border. What is Jack talking about? The proof of concepts are really narrow. When regulators lean in, they can open the liquidity pools across borders.
Well, we need the technology to be in place. If the technology is not there, inclusion is hard to happen. And this uneven access to infrastructure, but also to institutional capacity, is something that for the fund is a big obstacle to overcome. We also need to remember that we may have true financial inclusion, digitalization, fintech, a bit more vulnerability. Why? Let me just say one word. Cyber attacks.
The digitization of everything might be vulnerable, but blockchain technology and cryptographically secured systems are not the vulnerability. To me, that's the key thing, the pursuit of happiness. That's the basic, ultimate freedom. Jerry Garcia. Thanks everyone, I hope you enjoyed this show. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. If you do it, it helps my channel out because the YouTube algorithms will see that my show is liked and will share with others. If you're interested in supporting my channel, I have a Patreon. The link is in the description below. Thanks everyone.